Dear students, let us start the lesson, the Human Reproduction, chapter number 2. Today, we have to discuss about the pregnancy, then parturition and lactation. Now, what is pregnancy? You know that one. It's nothing but the retaining the development of the embryo within the uterus. Now, human pregnancy lasts for about just 40 weeks or 280 days from the last menstrual cycle. So the variation is there. If you are counting the just number of days, it is about what we have 280 days or 40 weeks from the last menstrual cycle. Suppose if you are considering the fertilization process, it lasts only for 38 weeks or 266 days from the day of fertilization. We do not know when fertilization occurs. That's why we are taking the first, what we have the method to find out or to calculate the duration of pregnancy. So roughly you can say 40 weeks or 280 days. So human pregnancy lasts for about 40 weeks or 280 days. It is aptly called as gestation period. The technical word is for pregnancy. For convenience, the entire pregnancy period has been divided into three trimesters or trimesters. Each one lasts about 3 months. So 3 trimesters during the development in the case of human beings. Now during each trimester, the various organs and organ systems are developed. Here in your syllabus given, not the entire life of what is called the pregnancy, only what are the structures which are developed during the first trimester, second trimester and also the third trimester. Now, what's happening during the first trimester? So it is considered as a major period of organogenesis, major period. Various organs and organ systems are formed during that period, hence called as a major period of organogenesis, the first 3 months. Now what happens? During that period, the various organs like limbs, heart, lungs, liver and external genital organs are being developed. Therefore, it is considered as a major period of organogenesis. I already mentioned about the heart starts functioning from the 4th week of gestation. After the 4th week of gestation or from the 4th week of gestation. Now, by the end of second trimester, the facial impressions are well developed, or we can say the face is well formed with the features, eyelids formed, eyelashes formed, even the child is blinking the eyelids, blinking, just eye blinking the eyelids. Along with we have the body hairs developed. So the body is normally covered with the fine hairs. The muscle tissues develop. The bones become harder. So these are all the various changes. Main change during the second trimester, formation or just a well-defined face with the facial features like the eyelashes, eyelids, the eye opened. The eyelids being actually, they are capable of blinking. And also the entire surface of the body has a mammalian character just covered with the fine hairs. And the muscle tissues develop, the various types of muscles. The bones which are already formed become harder. That happened by the end of second trimester. So just after 6 months you can notice all these structures already formed. Now during the third trimester, the fetus is fully developed and ready for what is called actually delivery. That marks the end of third trimester. That is the embryo, or we can say the fetus is fully developed and ready for parturition, or we can say what is called actually there is a delivery. That marks the end of what is called the third trimester. So these are all some of the changes that occurred during the gestation period pregnancy, which is lasting about 40 just weeks or 280 days as per the book I am telling. So there is also another calculation, 38 weeks or 266 days from the day of fertilization. So two different actually numbers given, but in the book it is given only 40 weeks. You just consider that one day for your syllabus, for your public examination. Now we have to go for the role of what is called the placenta, endocrine role of placenta. I will take that now. Now, what is the role of placenta as an endocrine gland? So, during pregnancy period, the endocrine gland normally, you see that when the placenta is acting as a transitory temporary endocrine gland. It persists acting as an endocrine gland until parturition occurs or childbirth occurs. Up to that level, it's acting as an endocrine gland. That's why it's not a permanent endocrine gland. It secretes major hormones. Number one, human chorionic gonadotropin, simply called as HCG. So this is a hormone secreted only during pregnancy. That is why you see that one, it is normally released into the urine of pregnant women. That's why it is considered as an indicated for pregnancy. So the pregnancy test is based on what is called the presence of human chorionic gonadotropin in urine. The second hormone, human chorionic somatomammoprotein, HCS. The third one, human placental lactation. The fourth one, progesterone, and the last one, estrogen. So the progesterone is otherwise called as a pregnancy hormone. That's a major hormone responsible for maintaining the pregnancy, secreted by corpus luteum. You have studied already in 11th standard. Progesterone is a major pregnancy hormone that is being secreted by the corpus luteum, the one which is formed after what we have ovulation occurs. The empty follicle gets transformed into corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone, and also another hormone what is called relaxin. Now, these hormones are responsible for the normal growth of the fetus. And you know that one, if you are taking the hormones which are produced only during pregnancy are HCG, HPL and relaxin. These are the hormones secreted only during pregnancy, not other times. So these are the hormones secreted only during pregnancy. But in the book it is given that relaxin is secreted by the placenta. But normally placenta is not secreting what is called the relaxin, and we have to adhere to the book. So the major hormones secreted by the placenta as an endocrine gland, these are the five responsible for the normal growth. Now another hormone which is normally released towards the last phase of pregnancy for birth, what is called the relaxin, secreted by the corpus luteum. So it is responsible for relaxing the pelvic ligaments during the time of birth. It plays a major role in relaxing the relaxing the ligaments that is normally found in the pelvic region and promotes what we call the delivery of the baby. As I mentioned already, these are all the hormones secreted during only pregnancy. In addition to these hormones, if you are just taking the sample of maternal blood during pregnancy, it contains several folds of estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, thyroxine and prolactin. These are all the additional hormones found in what we have several folds. Increase in concentration occurs in several folds in the maternal blood, because these are all the hormones essential for the normal growth of the fetus. Okay, so these are all the major hormones secreted by the placenta. We have also hormones. The same one also represents, for example, estrogen, progesterone, along with the cortisol, thyroxine and the prolactin level in the maternal blood increases several folds, because these hormones are essential for the normal growth of the fetus. That's about what we call the endocrine role of placenta. Okay, so we have to go for the next one, what is called the parturition or the childbirth. Now let's go to the parturition or childbirth. So what's happening? So what is first of all parturition? The completion of the pregnancy and giving birth to a baby. That process is called just parturition, simply called as childbirth. Okay, so normally what is happening? A series of events that normally expel the infant from the uterus of the mother to outside, together called as labor. The series of events normally that normally expels the baby from the uterus to outside, and that process is called labor. What is happening during the entire pregnancy? During the entire pregnancy or throughout the pregnancy, The uterine muscles exhibit periodic episode of strong and weak muscular contractions. These strong and weak muscular contractions, not for delivery, that occur during the pregnancy, normally called pseudo-labor. Labor occurs only at the time of birth. Normally called a pseudo-labor. What we have, that is nothing but periodic episode of strong and weak muscular contractions of the uterine wall. And these contractions together called as Braxton-Hicks contractions. Braxton-Hicks contractions, which normally lead to the pseudo-labor. It's not actual labor. So the mother feels such a kind of what's called pain very often, sometimes weak, sometimes strong during the anti-pregnancy period. That reflex is called Braxton-Hicks, not a reflex, that contractions together called Braxton-Hicks contractions, which is otherwise called pseudo-labor, not the true labor. Now, as the pregnancy progresses, there is increase in concentration of estrogen. Now, this estrogen brings about the muscular contractions, provokes or promotes the uterine contraction. So, as a pregnancy progresses, there is increase in concentration of estrogen, which promotes uterine contractions. As a result of these contractions, what will happen? The molding of fetus, it is being completed into a baby, and the downward movement of the fetus occurs. So the molding of the fetus and downward movement of the fetus because of the contractions of the uterine wall due to the release of estrogen, increase in level of estrogen. Now, because of the descending of fetus, what will happen? It causes the dilation of the mouth of the uterus, otherwise called as a cervix. The descending movement of what we have, the fetus, or we can say now the infant or the baby, it causes the dilation of cervix as well as the vaginal canal, which is acting as a birth canal. And all these just events together cause neurohormonal reflex or fetal ejection reflex, otherwise called Ferguson reflex. So the descent of the baby or the infant, just what we have towards what we have the mouth of the uterus, that causes normally the dilation of the mouth of the uterus, otherwise called the cervix, and also the dilation of the vaginal canal, otherwise called as a birth canal. And all these events together called as neurohormonal reflex or fetal ejection reflex or Ferguson reflex. As a result, actually the child wants to go out. It is the one which is urging, I want to go out, I want to go out. That's why it's called as fetal ejection reflex. Now, as a result of this reflex, what would happen? It initiates the secretion of what is called the hormone what is called relaxin, and also oxytocin. First I'll take oxytocin. So it leads to the secretion of oxytocin. It is otherwise called as a birth hormone. So, the Ferguson reflex initiates the secretion of oxytocin by the neurohypophysis of the pituitary gland, and which in turn bring about the powerful muscular contractions of the uterine wall that causes the expulsion of the baby through the birth canal, and this is called what is known as parturition. So, oxytocin is otherwise called as the birth hormone. In some cases, you know that one. The oxytocin is non-secreted. Even if it is secreted, the uterine wall is not responding to the oxytocin. In such cases, the vaginal delivery is not possible. The normal delivery is called vaginal delivery. This is because of actually non-secretion of oxytocin, or we have some other factors, the position of the baby, or we have what is called the nature of the placenta. Sometimes it is being oriented towards one direction. In such cases, we need a surgical removal of the baby. So surgery has been made through abdomen and also through uterus to just take out the baby. This is called abdominal delivery. Normal delivery is called vaginal delivery. If it is being done through surgery, through abdomen and also uterus, then it's called abdominal delivery. Now, the first delivery or the first boy who was born by this method, by surgical removal, was Julius Caesar. That's why it's called a Caesarean operation. cesarean section or C-section. So Julius Caesar was born for the first time by means of surgical removal by cutting through abdominal wall and uterus. Hence the surgery is called cesarean section or C-section, otherwise called abdominal delivery. Compared to normal delivery, what is called the vaginal delivery. So this is one thing you have to remember, that one, cesarean is not Caesar, it is only cesarean after the name of Julius Caesar, as he was born first time like that. Okay, that's about what we have, the various events happening during what is called parturition. And during that parturition, what is the role of just another hormone? So oxytocin is responsible for the powerful contractions of the uterine muscles for expelling the baby towards outside, hence called birth hormone. Another hormone, what is called the relaxin. What is its role and what are the other events happening? I'll tell you. What is the role of relaxin? That is during parturition or childbirth. So relaxin is another hormone normally secreted by the placenta as given in the book, but not mostly. It is also found in corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is a major structure responsible for the secretion of relaxin. Now, what is the role of relaxin? It promotes parturition by helping or by just doing the following events. Number one, relaxing the pelvic joints. Relaxing the pelvic joints or we can say pelvic ligaments. Number two, dilation of the mouth of the uterus, otherwise called as a cervix. This is called the mouth of the uterus, with the powerful contractions so that the expulsion of the fetus occurs, the birth of the baby occurs. Now, so what are the other events happening during parturition? The amnion, that is the one which encloses the baby with the amniotic fluid, ruptures. And so that what is happening, the amniotic fluid flows out through the vaginal canal, and that is followed by the fetus, the final birth. Now what's the meaning of after birth? So after the delivery of the baby, still we have some materials in the uterus of the pregnant mother, the one who delivered, normally called as postpartum woman. Postpartum woman, the one who delivered baby after that, she is called postpartum woman, not postmortem, postpartum woman. Now we have the placenta and umbilical cord still there inside the uterus of the mother. So the placenta along with the remains of the umbilical cord, which is normally called as after birth. After birth is nothing but you have the remains of the umbilical cord and the placenta, and both together expel out through what is called the vaginal canal after delivery. So that refers to after birth. So the placenta along with the remains of the umbilical cord called after birth. The placenta plus remains of the umbilical cord, and that is called after birth, and which is being expelled out after the delivery of the baby. And that is one. Two marks question, what is after birth? What is the role of relaxin in parturition? So these are all the events that happen during the birth of the baby, pregnancy completed, then we have parturition completed. The last part of the lesson we have to go for what is called the lactation, a few lines. Now what is lactation or lactogenesis? Now the production of milk by the mammary glands under the influence of prolactin hormone is called what is known as lactation. Now the mammary glands are responsible for the secretion of the milk. They undergo changes during each menstrual cycle, during pregnancy and lactation period. So they undergo changes during these situations, either during the menstrual cycle of each one and pregnancy and lactation. Now how is milk stimulation occurs? Now the estrogen hormone, progesterone and the human placental lactogen, they stimulate the hypothalamus. They stimulate the hypothalamus of the brain so that the hypothalamus release a factor, what is called prolactin releasing factor. And this is a factor, the one through blood circulation reaches the anterior pituitary, stimulate the anterior pituitary to secrete the hormone, what is called actually prolactin. So release the prolactin with the anterior pituitary. Okay, so it's being stimulated. So through blood circulation reaches antipituitary. Normally the antipituitary is responding to the releasing factor because it's a controlling factor on pituitary gland. We get different hormones controlled by the releasing factors. So the pituitary gland responds to the releasing factor for prolactin, so that it secretes and releases what we call the prolactin, the hormone. That's a major hormone for the synthesis of milk. Now the prolactin are also having what is called lactogenic hormone, plays an important role in the lactogenesis process, nothing but the formation of milk. This is an event happening. So presence of estrogen, progesterone and HPL, stimulation of hypothalamus, release of prolactin releasing factor, response of pituitary gland, anterior pituitary gland to release prolactin, which causes what we have the lactogenesis process. Now the hormone is responsible for synthesis, but the release of the milk, what is called milk letdown process, is done by another hormone, what is called the milk ejection hormone. This is a milk synthesizing hormone, what is called prolactin. Now we have the milk ejection hormone, what we have the oxytocin, otherwise called the birth hormone, that plays the letdown of milk, actual release of the milk from what is called the mammary gland. We'll see now. What is milk letdown reflex? So it is nothing but the actual ejection of milk from the alveolus of the mammary gland. It is done by, you see that, by oxytocin. So prolactin is responsible for synthesis of what is called milk. The release of the milk from the mammary gland just after what is called parturition is a neurohormonal reflex. Neurohormonal reflex. So the ejection of the milk is done by oxytocin. That process called milk letdown process. The reflex here represented because of the suckling by the infant. The milk secretion is stimulated. The oxytocin secretion is stimulated. So the release of the milk occurs, hence called a reflex. Milk letdown reflex because of the mechanical stimulus by the baby while feeding and also the release of hormone. So that's why it's called as milk letdown reflex, neurohormonal reflex. Now what is happening? When the lactation is going on during the lactation period, the oxytocin also causes the contraction of the uterine wall, the one which is emptied recently after birth, the emptied uterus. So that what is happening? The uterine wall returns back to its original pre-pregnant size. So normally the uterus is about, you see that one, 4 inches long and 2 inches wide. And during pregnancy, it is increased by 20 times, the size being increased. So returning back to its original condition is also because of the contraction done by oxytocin. So oxytocin is responsible for birth by contraction of the muscles and also for returning of the uterine wall to its original size. That is also done by oxytocin. It is also milk ejection hormone. Now we have a milk, what is called the colostrum, the first secreted milk, which is yellow in color. During a few days, the early days, the initial days after childbirth, after what is called actually parturition is called colostrum. So it is a yellow fluid secreted by mammary glands during initial few days after parturition. Now what is its importance? It has less lactose than what is called the cow's milk. That is number one. And it contains more proteins, vitamin A and minerals, essential minerals. And also it contains what is called one antibody, Ige antibodies. The Ige antibodies gives protection to what is called the digestive tract of the infant against the bacterial infection. So the immunity power is developed because of what is called Ige. So the colostrum normally just responsible for the growth, repair of tissues, immune system maturation, etc. Now the colostrum is an ideal food for infants as it contains all the constituents in what is called right concentration or suitable concentration. That's number one. Why is it suitable? And secondly, it is easily digestible. So it fully satisfies actually the baby's food up about till about 6 months of age. So all infants must be breastfed by mother to ensure the the normal growth of healthy baby. That's why normally doctors are advising the breastfeeding is the best feeding for the young ones because of its antibody efficiency against what is called the infections, nutrients, etc. So that's about what is called you have the colostrum. I'll write down the few words on that one. And also just one or two lines about what is called World Breastfeeding Week. I mentioned about the importance of colostrum. So it contains minerals, etc., Ige antibodies. Now what is the role of Ige antibodies? Ige antibodies. Now the Ige antibodies protect the infant's digestive tract against a bacterial infection. Now the colostrum, actually the breast milk is an ideal food for all the infants as it contains all the constituents in right proportion or in suitable concentration. It is also easily digestible. What we have the milk colostrum, the breast milk. Now it is fully sufficient for about 6 months of age, the breast milk. So all infants must be breastfed by the mother. What for? To ensure the growth of healthy baby. Now I want to give just the expansion of what is called the World World Breastfeeding Week. Now a few words about World Breastfeeding Week, WBW. Now it is organized and promoted by 3 organizations. Number 1, World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, WABA. The second one, World Health Organization, that is WHO. The third one, what we have the UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. So this World Breastfeeding Week is normally organized by this organization. What for? To stress the importance of breastfeeding for first 6 months of baby's life. And also subsequently, a supplementary breastfeeding for 2 years. A supplementary breastfeeding, not a main one, a supplementary breastfeeding for 2 years. That is the main aim of that is what is called the World Breastfeeding Week, organized by these organizations. So every year August 1st week is organized as what is called World Breastfeeding Week. That's about a few words about what we have World Breastfeeding Week. So with that I concluded the human reproduction. We have to pass on to the next one, that is in botany, that is chromosomal basis of inheritance. I will start in the next class. Okay, thank you.